Hi, I'm Sandrine Blake, Manager of Member Events and Experience here at AmitaCare. Thank you for joining us for today's online Live Your Life Wellness session. Today's session is sponsored by AmitaCare, a Medicaid health plan designed to provide care for those living with or at elevated risk of HIV. At AmitaCare, we believe that staying healthy is much more than just doctor's visits and medication. We believe in the whole person, mind, body, and spiritual wellness. We also look at aspects of life such as healthy food and housing. Stay tuned for more information on how you can contact us at AmitaCare. Thank you. Enjoy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Marina Braff. I'm a marriage and family therapist in Hermosa Beach, California, and I'm coming to you today to talk about how to stay calm during this crazy time that we're all dealing with. I think a lot of us can agree that there's numerous stressors going on, whether that's work, family life, or just transitioning into this uncertainty. I'm here to come to you and talk to you all about emotional wellness and how to use different tools to increase and improve your resiliency, to reframe negative thoughts, implement gratitude practices, and so on. So, without further ado, I am going to share my screen and we will get into it. Okay. So, what I want to start out by explaining is what is emotional wellness. And emotional wellness is really going to be framing this whole conversation. So, emotional wellness is the ability to experience, manage, and express feelings appropriately, and to be able to respond resiliently and effectively to changing emotional states. So, as you guys can start to put these puzzle pieces together, COVID-19, this global pandemic, is a massive changing state, and we're all going through changing emotional states, whether that's sadness, anxiety, depression, frustration. Emotional wellness is the umbrella that's going to help us really stay in tune to be able to express our feelings appropriately, to be able to respond appropriately, and model this emotional responses to our loved ones to really help to create this, I don't know what you want to call it, this safer space for everyone in our lives. Emotional wellness also helps to inspire self care, relaxation, and overall stress reduction so that we can develop this inner strength. And really, it's thinking about how we can use COVID-19 and this global pandemic that we're all living in to think about, like, okay, so we're stuck in this place, we're stuck at home, but what can we do to build up our own inner strength so that what is a very stressful situation may seem like an opportunity to grow and to get stronger? And that brings me to becoming resilient. Resiliency is defined as a person's capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. So think about the idea of getting knocked down and then getting back up again. And really, COVID-19 is a challenge for all of us, and our resilience is being tested. It would be so easy to kind of pull the blanket over our head and say, wake me up when this is all over. But really, we want to be thinking about how can we use this as an opportunity to rise? And how can we think of this as an opportunity to get stronger and to bounce back and become more flexible? So some of you may be thinking, yeah, Marina, that sounds great, but how in the world am I supposed to become resilient during this crazy time? So really, I think that it comes down to four things: gratitude, reframing, coping skills, and self-care. And all of those I'm going to break down into further detail during this presentation. So let's start with gratitude. And gratitude is one of my favorite things to talk about because it is something that is so simple and yet so powerful. So I'm sure you all know the definition of gratitude, but it's defined as a feeling or attitude, an acknowledgement of a benefit that one has received or will receive. And in times that are really stressful and challenging, expressing gratitude and feeling grateful can seem like a practice in and of itself. It's easy for us to list off the problems that we're having, the challenges that we're facing, the stressors that we're dealing with, but really taking a pause and saying, yes, there is all of that. There is all of these difficulties. And there are these things that are going right in my life. And when we are able to think about those things and call out those things, our mood instantly changes. And so I like to tell all of my clients that creating a gratitude practice is something that's so simple, yet so profound, and it can have ripple effects over many areas of your life. And numerous studies have been done that show that creating a daily gratitude practice actually increases your overall life satisfaction. So, are you convinced yet? I'm going to tell you how to create a gratitude practice. So the first thing that I would like to suggest is to decide on a time when you're going to do this, when you're going to sit down and write down what you're grateful for. Some people like to do it in the mornings as a way of starting their day as they're drinking their coffee. Other people like to do it in the evenings after the day is done, and they might even write about some of the things that they're grateful that happened during the course of that day. Whatever you want works for you, go for it. And then once you've decided on the time, find a lovely piece of paper or even like a really nice journal that maybe you've been wanting to use and haven't, and write it down. And when I say write it down, I want you to get really specific. And there's the not cliche things, but there's the things that we're all grateful for. We're all grateful to have a roof over our heads. We're grateful to have food on the table. And I don't want you to dismiss those things of gratitude. Those are real things to be grateful for, especially right now. And I want you to get really specific and even notice and express gratitude for the smaller things. So I've created a formula of what you can be grateful for and how to be grateful for something. So the formula is I am grateful for blank because blank. So I am grateful for an iced cup of coffee this morning because it just felt so and tasted so delicious on this hot morning in California. And you can see how the because at the end of it really helps to give you another opportunity to say why you're so grateful for it and why you're enjoying it so much. I'm grateful for my children because they made me laugh when I was feeling really stressed out about a work project. You get the idea. So, implement the gratitude practice. I think that you guys will find that to be really enjoyable. And it's also something that, your loved ones can get involved in and can get invested in as well. And maybe you even make it an opportunity for all of you guys to come together and connect as a family. Okay. The next thing I want to do is reframe, and talking about reframes. So reframing is a concept that's introduced in cognitive behavioral therapy, and it's actually a really powerful tool that I use with my clients all the time. And I think that in these circumstances where, again, things can feel like they're happening to us, where things can feel like, we're stuck at home or we don't have any control over our situations, one of the things that we do have control over is how we conceptualize what's happening to us, how we manage our emotions. And so because of that, reframing is this, again, very small and very powerful tool. So the purpose of reframes is to redefine your narrative. So it's the idea of something happening to you versus something happening for you. And I know what you're thinking, Marina, COVID is not happening for me. I get that. But thinking about things like, okay, you're not stuck at home, you're safe at home. It's the same concept that you're at home, but it's the wording that you're using, stuck versus safe. And you can see how if you stay stuck on the stuck, it feels like something's happening to you and you're the victim, and this is like a sucky situation and it's bad and it leaves you with a negative feeling, versus you're safe at home, you're safe, you're comfortable, you're okay, everything's fine. It leaves you with a much more positive connotation and a happier feeling moving forward. So really what reframing is it's turning lemons into lemonade. It's looking at the glass half full. So reframing, it reduces distress and negative thoughts and feelings, and it really increases the feelings of resiliency because, again, you're taking something that is real, you're taking a situation, but you're saying, how can I spin this into the positive? So you're stuck at home with your kids. You're able to spend more time at home with your kids. You're working at home and not able to see your colleagues. you're working from home, being able to see your children more, and learning these new platforms that we're on right now. So in the beginning, I think it's important to say that reframing, while it seems simple, it can be kind of challenging. And it can also seem kind of forced, where you're like, yeah, safe at home, I just feel trapped. That's okay. It's going to feel awkward in the beginning, but that's just because you're trying out a new tool. So gratitude practices, those aren't going to feel as awkward because we all like the feeling of that. And we can all get on board with feeling gratitude and feeling grateful for things. Reframing can feel a little bit forced. It's just like affirmations. I tell my clients, say something kind about yourself or write something good about yourself each day. And they all kind of look at me confused, and they often say like, okay, but this feels totally fake. And my response to them is, okay, but fake it till you make it. It's better to be really like faking it and getting yourself to slowly buy into a concept over time than to just not do it at all. So teach this idea to your kids, teach this idea to your partner, to your colleagues, because really what you're going to notice is that the wording that you use in terms of the situations that are happening to you is going to switch, and it's going to become more positive. And when your narrative and your wording becomes more positive, that's going to impact your thoughts and feelings and your behaviors. Your overall mood is going to change into something that's just overall happier. And so with that being said, coping skills is a huge other element that is more tangible. It's more something that you can, physically do. And coping skills are really what you do to deal with negative emotions or situations. So, some people, when they're feeling stressed out, they'll go for a run. Some people, when they're feeling stressed out, they'll call their friends or their family. And really, it's thinking about, what are your coping skills now? And what can you do to build on them, to increase them, to really be thinking about how to improve them and incorporate them more into your daily life. So a lot of us are feeling rushed by our new schedules, by our new roles. And so it's super important for us to think about, how can we schedule in our self-care? How can we schedule in an opportunity to create pause and make sure that we're utilizing our coping skills? So for some, it might be helpful to create a list of all the coping skills that you use, that your kids could use, that your husband could use, that your wife could use, whatever, so that it's a reminder, a tangible reminder of what you have in your toolbox. So some of the things that I like to suggest for coping skills are self-soothing techniques. Something as simple as, having a fuzzy blanket around, having like a little candle around, something that relaxes you upon seeing it, upon feeling it, that can overall like just reduce your anxiety because it's something that feels good to you. Leaning on your support system. So knowing, who you're going to call when times get stressful. Are you going to call your family? Are you going to call your friends? Are you going to call your colleagues? And really feeling comfortable to lean on them, because when you do that, you're opening up the door for them to then lean on you when they need it. And right now, let's be honest, like we all really need each other. And so model what it is that you want so that people can feel like they're able to ask for that as they need it as well. Exercise. So I mentioned that earlier. A lot of us are stuck at home, or safe at home, but we're not being able to be safe at our gyms and, at our yoga studios and in all the places that we're used to, working out. So thinking about what forms of exercise you can do while you're at home, that you can do outside or whatever, that is really going to fill you up. And something that I like to add about the exercise component is this idea that exercise doesn't have to be high intensity, go, drop down and give me 15 push-ups and then do some burpees and then run around your block 20 times. Exercise can be something as simple as stretching, as moving your body, as dancing with your kids, anything to really get your body going, because so many of us have our emotions trapped in our bodies. Some of us carry it in our neck and our shoulders, some of us carry it in our stomachs, but really we want to make sure that we're moving our body so that we can move out the negative, the sad energy so it's not staying stuck. Making sure that you utilize brain breaks is super important as well. When we're in situations where we're feeling all kinds of emotions and we're still trying to get things done on the sides and in addition to, we want to make sure that we're allowing ourselves to go outside, breathe in the fresh air, take a second and have lunch with our kids and do things so that we're really able to give our brain an opportunity to reset. Otherwise, if we keep pushing our brain and pushing our brain and pushing our brain, it's going to go on overload, and then it's not going to be able to work to the intensity that we need it to work to. Nutrition. Now, obviously, I'm a therapist. I'm not a dietitianist. I'm not a nutritionist, but I know that you are what you eat. And so really thinking about what are the foods, what's the drinks, the snacks that you want in your home that you know that are going to fuel you and that are going to leave you feeling good. And food impacts our mood. I know that from personal experience. I know that from working with clients. And so really thinking and pausing to, as you're writing this coping skills list, to think about like what foods make you feel really good. And yes, dark chocolate, sure. Maybe you have a glass of wine. Okay. But really thinking like, is there fresh produce that makes you feel good? Is there, making sure that you stay hydrated, things like that you can incorporate into your coping skills toolbox that is as simple as what it is that you're putting on your plate. And all of this really does fall into the umbrella of self-care, but thinking even more about the things that, maybe you were using as self-care tips and tricks before COVID. So taking bubble baths and, scheduling happy hours with your friends, all of that you can still incorporate in today's world. It just takes an extra layer of intentionality and planning to make it happen. So the last thing that I'm going to leave you with is relaxation techniques. And relaxation is super powerful, again, because it allows us to pause. When we're in stressful situations, our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system are kind of going like this. And our sympathetic nervous system is the fight or flight. So that's what keeps us going and moving. And if you're juggling 25 different roles and 25 different hats, your sympathetic nervous system is probably like up here. It's firing on all cylinders. The problem is that if we don't take time to relax, our parasympathetic system never gets utilized. So think of your parasympathetic system as like pulling the parachute that's going to slow you down. And the parasympathetic nervous system is it's what we do to relax, to calm ourselves down. So I want to talk about a few examples, a few suggestions for all of you. The first thing that I want to do is the most basic thing, and I'm actually going to kind of walk you through it as you guys are sitting at home watching this. So it's a breathing exercise, and the reason I like to start out with this is really to show you that the breath is really so powerful. And you can do this breathing exercise whether you're with your kids, if you're on a conference call, if you're getting ready to do a workout. So I'm going to ask that all of you get comfortable in your chairs or on your beds or wherever you're watching this webinar. Take a normal breath in, a normal breath out. And then I'm going to ask that you count, or that you take a deep breath in, and I'm going to count to 5. So breathe in for a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let it out for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take another deep breath in and out, and you can repeat that as needed. You should feel calmer. I'm actually speaking softer now, so I guess that weirdly worked on me too. But the reason that I like to, call out the breathing exercise, like I mentioned, is it is something that you can do anywhere at any time. Meditation is a component of breathing. A lot of meditation exercises will have you breathe in the beginning or breathe at the end. But again, the breathing in meditation can really help to slow everything down, can help to reduce all of the mental chatter that's going on in our minds. And if you have time to meditate, it's super powerful. Again, numerous studies have been done to show the impact of it on our psychological and emotional well-being. Meditation can be done kind of on your own, where you just pick a comfortable place. I'll go into the Zen Den in a second, but you pick a comfortable place and you close your eyes and you breathe deeply, and you can either just have it free flowing where you're not thinking about anything. Some people find it really helpful to be repeating a word over and over again. So setting an intention for their practice and saying like, okay, I want patience. And so during their meditation, they're just repeating patience over and over and over again in their head, and focusing in on that word can really help to keep all of the other thoughts at bay. We call it the monkey brain. So using that as like an anchor for your practice can be helpful. Or if you're like me, guided meditations are super helpful. And there's so many apps. The Calm app, Headspace is another one where you can select guided meditations, and each guided meditation kind of has either a different facilitator or a different purpose, whether that's relaxation or energy or confidence or whatever. And that can be really helpful because then you're just listening to someone who normally has a very soothing voice and doing what it is that they say, and they can walk you through that amount of time. If you are new to a meditation practice, start small, start for 5 minutes. And that may seem like a really long time. So give yourself some grace as you adjust to that. And then you can slowly add on a minute, add on 2 minutes. I think 10 minutes is like a pretty solid window. Obviously, there's some people who can meditate for 30 minutes or an hour, but obviously don't start there. You're going to get really frustrated really quick. So the Zen Den is something that I mentioned in the beginning of meditation. I've been seeing a lot of people create little alcoves in their home, whether it's like a corner of their house, a room in their house, and then creating a space where it's automatically relaxing. So whether they have a candle or an oil diffuser, if they have like dim lighting, comfy pillows, it's just a place where when you go there you can just drop in and relax. So think of like what a spa would be like, or what a therapist office would be like, and finding space in your home to create a similar vibe, so that if you are going to go meditate, you can go there. If your kid needs to take a breather, you can send them to the Zen Den, or if you yourself need to go there, it can be a really helpful space. Another thing I want to talk about are grounding techniques. So when our sympathetic nervous system is acting up, it can really feel like, we need to kind of anchor down into our practice and think about ways to kind of remind us of where we're at. When we're feeling really stressed out, we can get very heady. So one of the things that I really like to suggest to people is, if you can go outside, great. If not, then being in whatever room works for you is fine too. But utilizing your 5 senses and calling out things that you can see, smell, touch, hear, and feel can be a really good way of orienting you to time and space. Because when we're super stressed out, a lot of us may feel like we're going on autopilot, we're acting like robots, and we don't want that. We want it to feel like, okay, we're moving and grooving, and we also are still oriented to what's happening in our parameters in our world. Self-care techniques, I'm not going to repeat because we went over that in the last slide, but obviously it's the coping skills, it's the things that make you feel good. Sleep hygiene is super important. I know you all are well aware of how much better you feel when you get a good night's sleep. But really thinking about, okay, so yes, that's important. And how else can I, make my sleep routine, my sleep hygiene that much more intentional? So an example of sleep hygiene would be like, okay, you know that an hour before bedtime, you're not going to look at any screens, your phones are going to be plugged in, your TV is going to be off, you're just going to be reading. It could be something like, if you have a diffuser by your bed, you put in some lavender drops, or you have like a nice lavender eye pillow that you bust out, things like that, where you do the same routine every single night. And in doing that, you're able to signal to your body and your brain, like, it's time for bed. And the hope is that in doing that, you're able to fall asleep quicker and stay asleep longer. And then lastly, I wanted to be sure to touch on decompression routines. So decompression routine is the idea that you're going from one role to another and how to step into those roles seamlessly. And so when it was not a global pandemic and we were all going into the office and working in the office, we mostly had a commute of some sorts that allowed us to go from office persona to family persona to mom persona to dad persona and so on. And right now, as many of us are working from home, we don't have that commute. Our commute is like maybe upstairs to downstairs. So thinking about ways that you can decompress and compartmentalize one side of you to another so that you can be fully present in your worlds, even though both of your worlds or all of your worlds are likely under the same roof. So a lot of people will do things like they'll get dressed for work, and then when their work day is over, they'll get into their play clothes. I myself, when I am in my office in real life, I like to light a candle as soon as I get into the office. And then, when I'm done with my last client and about to leave the office, I blow out the candle, and that signifies that my day is over. So you can get really creative about what feels good for you. But again, it's similar to the sleep hygiene, where it's the same routine that you do day in and day out. And all of that is meant to really tell your brain and your body that you're switching from work mode to play mode. So that is all that I have for you guys. I'm going to leave this screen open for a minute because typically, if this was a live webinar, this would be an opportunity for you guys to ask me any questions. I know that obviously right now we're not able to do so. So if you want to contact me, here's my information. I really want to be a resource for all of you and help you all through this time. And the last thing that I want to do, and the last thing that I want to leave you with, is just a reminder to be really good to yourself and to be really gentle. I mentioned this in a previous webinar that I did for Amita Care, but no one knows how to live through a global pandemic, and everyone's trying to figure it out to the best of their ability. And so really give yourself some grace, give yourself some patience, give your loved ones that same grace and that same patience, so that you can really feel like you're honoring the emotions that are coming up. And if you have kids and if you have people that you're living with, call out the emotions that you're experiencing. Tell them how you're feeling. Tell them what it is that you need from them and how they can help you. We're not mind readers, and we're especially not mind readers when we're stressed out. So doing that can be really helpful, and it can be really helpful to model for your kids regardless. I know we're all trying to figure out homeschooling and how to get our kids this best education, but really thinking about this also as an opportunity to teach them about emotional wellness, to teach them about resiliency, and share the information that I just went over with you. I think arguably so is more important than, learning addition and subtraction, but that's just me, and obviously I'm biased. So with that being said, I'm going to leave you all, and I hope that this was helpful for you. And again, if you need any other tips or suggestions or have any questions, feel free to reach out, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.